Hey everybody, I just wanted to give y'all an update as we get to 2025, kind of where we stand with the tank and all that. I know it has been quite a while since I've really put out a video. As you can tell, stuff has expanded. So we have the original system back up and running. We've added on another system onto that, and then there's two small independent systems down below. So last time y'all had really seen this, it was right after the crash of everything. So moving to this new apartment and every reason under the sun, it just all went to hell. So pretty much everything crashed. I did have some corals survive it, but for the most part this tank was reset at that point. So it has been a little while now, but it's getting up and running nicely. So when you saw, I think I had released a short adding these clownfish in, they've actually grown. I think they've almost doubled in size since I've gotten them. But see, under the lighting and the camera, it doesn't look like it's coming through very well, but some nice green bubble tip anemones. They're really stringy right now. There's a fair amount of flow hitting them. From what I can tell, it seems to be flow, not lighting. How the flow is depends how these anemones bubble up. People say, oh, well, it's the lighting. The lighting hasn't changed. I have set the lighting on this tank and forgotten about it. I have not touched it. I have not messed with it. But sometimes when the flow is low, they will bubble up. Right now, the flow is on pretty much full. I cleaned the pumps recently, except that one in the back. But all the rest have been clean. So the flow is pretty high right now for this tank, and they're pretty stringy. Mandarin down in the bottom has been doing very well. He's been in this system for, I want to say, if I can get it to zoom in and focus on him. Not really. He's been in this tank for quite a while, doing really well. Very happy. There is a pretty good pod population. Black cap basslet that I got. Absolutely phenomenal fish. Completely love that fish. Probably just based on the coloration, that purple with the black, kind of contrast. Lineatus blenny, you can kind of see back there a little bit. Nope, he's gonna hide right as I bring him out. Scopus tang, Atlantic blue tang. I do have one chromis in here. It was pretty much a rescue from a tank breakdown. He's in here doing just fine as a solo chromis. There is another clownfish, which, come to think of it, don't know where he is. They have yet to actually pair, so they live their lives pretty much separately. They don't fight, but he lives his life. This one is the female, who is very happily hosting these anemones, has been for months. A royal gramma in there, and I think that's all the fish. Do have the flame shrimp as well. As far as the corals, pretty simple in this tank. It does really well with the colors are really not coming through well, but does really well with the lords. I need to cut that Kenya tree back a little bit. It is growing all over the place. You can see it dropped a branch and somehow it connected onto the back glass. This piece right there, I have had since before the tank crash, and it is splitting off heads, but the heads are not happy. So it was 2 or 3 heads initially. I don't remember. It's up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it looks like. But the heads aren't happy. I could move it. I haven't, because it's not going downhill. It's not going uphill. That's what it does. This piece right next to it, it's doing great. Again, it started out as 2 heads, I believe, 1 or 2 heads, and is now up to like 8 or 9. So I really couldn't tell you. Going over here, this is where a lot of the coral has gone, kind of for a more of a propagation side. And I have to be completely honest with you, I kind of like this setup more. There's been a big part of, oh, I forgot, chalk basslet hides down in that rockwork right there. Getting back, so this is just so much easier. It still looks really nice. I can still see all the corals, but it's easy to move things around. It's easy to get them in the right place. There's a side of me that wants to just take this tank, pull all the rock work out, and do the exact same thing. Now this tank is bare bottom. I have a Melanaris wrasse in there, so I do have a little cup. You can kind of see down in the bottom corner. There is a cup of sand. It's just a like takeout Tupperware container that was cleaned really well. But this tank's doing fantastic. I plumbed it into the other system, so I more than doubled my water volume. This is 125, but it's doing really well. I will say the one thing is I should have dosed some nitrate and phosphate to this system before I put it online, because the second I did, I pretty much bottomed out my nitrate and phosphate. So I did get a cyano bloom in this tank. I brought the nutrients up, and then I just hit it with ChemiClean. I didn't feel like dealing with it because I was getting ready to put stuff in it. So very quickly did a ChemiClean dose. It's cleared that up. And other than that, this tank has been running great. So as far as the lighting, it's pretty minimal right now. It's 4 Orphic bars. It's 2 of the 4-foot, 2 2-foots, and a Kessel right in the middle. So that Kessel is turned up about 3/4 of the way, kind of adding a punch in the middle for some of the stuff that wants a little more. The other stuff I have off to the sides. I am moving stuff around. Still, a lot of this stuff has been in this tank only for a couple months. So, you know, things are still kind of moving around. I'm getting them onto discs, etc. Kind of let them grow out and stuff. Idea being to propagate a little bit. Couple of SPS here as far as the stick side of things. It's really all I have, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Everything else is mostly LPS, a lot of Zoas. There's some like Montes and stuff like that, but pretty simple. So everything is looking good. Some of these pieces I got recently on some Black Friday sales. Some of them, you know, I took out of this other tank, like I said. Torches are very happy. The Gawnies back there are very happy. The, let's see, nice happy Duncan. This piece is really cool. So this Trachophilia is actually a baby that dropped off of a larger colony. Looking around online, had not seen any sort of historical record or, you know, anyone saying that they'd had this happen. So one of the few dropped babies, I guess, for a Trachophilia, at least in captivity. Really cool. Shrunk down a little bit right now, but usually it's all happy with polyps out and everything. Sunkissed in the back. A whole lot more Zoas. Scully. More Lords. Some Cyphastria. I did have my GSP on the back wall of this tank. And interestingly enough, I don't know if it's because my pumps kind of got gummed up, what it was. Maybe it wasn't getting enough flow. Maybe, I don't know. It like started to like slough off the walls. And I saw it was collecting down here, just where the flow was pushing it. I took it, I glued it down to 2 discs, and you can kind of see it in the back. And I put them in 2 different spots to see how they do. But so far it's been fine. It's not really growing, it's not really dying, but it's stopped having issues. Fish in here, really happy. There's the one Anthias, Tamini Tang. Like I said, there's that Melanaris wrasse. Cleaner wrasse is very happy. It was from a tank breakdown. There's a couple Chromis in here. There is a purple tang that's honestly really shy, even though it's the largest fish in the tank. So I don't really know why. I will say I absolutely love this piece. I don't know why these aren't more popular. Like every time I go to frag shows and stuff, there's always someone selling them for super cheap. I don't really know why they're so cheap. I guess because it's encrusting, you know, not a branching SPS. People don't really get the same appeal out of it. I did find online there's actually a couple species of branching. I would love to get it. So that's kind of my new mission. If anyone sees where I can get, Reef Builders had done a post, and there's one that's like blue and green. If anyone knows who has that, hit me up. I would love some. Space Invader Pectinia, you can see the sweepers on that thing. That's why I kind of have it here. In general, the flow tends to pull down towards this MP40, so it's pretty straightforward. Have some pulsing xenia in there. Right now it's just on a frag, kind of growing out a little bit. I'm going to find a better solution. It's probably going to go down into one of these bottom systems, which I'm about to show you. Same thing, I'm probably going to end up moving the torches and frog spawn and hammer into the other big tank. Go from there, but right now everything's been happy, so I haven't wanted to touch it. Let's see, down here, now these tanks are a mess. I don't clean them, I don't touch them. I do water changes out of the big system. It goes in here and I feed the fish. This one has somewhere in it, there's a shrimp, and if you can see, there's a maroon clown, and a whole bunch of rainbow bubble tips. So these, I started with one and it is split up to 5. So I'm just gonna keep feeding this tank and continue to let them, you know, split. It has an old AI soul on it, which is way overpowered for this system, but anemones, they can move if they don't like the light. They haven't. They've been very happy like this, so not messing with it. Next tank I'm going to show you is a mess, and I'm fine with that. So I did just scrape the glass a little bit so that I can do this video. Typically I don't scrape the glass. One of the reasons being I have cats and I don't really want them to easily see into the tank and see, oh look, fish, and let me, you know, get more interested in the hobby than they should be. So this one, same thing, just an anemone grow out tank. It's 2 of the green hulks. Now I just have a large freshwater grow light on it, and this has worked perfectly. Have had no problems with it whatsoever. This tank was recently set up. Initially these were in another system. I did get the rock that these are on from a tank breakdown. That system had Aptasia. As you can see, there's a monster Aptasia right there, and you're gonna hate this a little bit, but to be honest, I don't care. The reality is, the only thing I'm ever gonna take out of this system is the anemones. Sorry, I'm pointing to nothing. Is the anemones, right? So once they split, I will end up selling some of those. Anemones aren't going to have any like rock work, or they're not gonna be glued to a plug or anything like that a Aptasia can be attached to. The anemones aren't gonna get stung by the Aptasia. They're not gonna care, so I really don't care that they're in there whatsoever. If I wanted to, I could go in, you know, super glue over, manually remove, you know, Aptasia them, something like that. I don't care. When they're in the larger system, if I ever get any pop up, which honestly I've only had 1 or 2 in the last 1.5 to 2 years that this system has been up and running. You know, I deal with those. I just super glue over them when they're really small. Do it when they're small and it won't be an issue. It's easy to glue over them and you're good to go. So both of these 2 large systems are running on this sump down here. Now it is a small sump. Ignore the salt creep. It is a mess. It's a sump. I don't need a Cadillac of a sump like you see online. I did the plumbing a little differently so that I don't get a lot of back siphoning. This one is carefully set up and has a hole in it, but it's also right near the top anyways, so I don't get a lot of back siphon. This one is set up to almost siphon next to nothing, so if I turn off the flow to this tank, you get almost nothing, and if I wanted to, I could get even less. This system here, flow runs down on this side. With the way this tank was, And the way I built the stand, I screwed up. It was too hard to get a second drain in there, so it's running return on this side. There's no drain over there. That is just hollow space. And I siliconed over the spout. Honestly, I think I want to build it up a little more. This Jabo, it's the SOW20, will, if you want, and you can see a little bit of it right now, even though it's set not to, we'll build a really nice standing wave in this system. Anybody that wants to buy a fancy wave box, anything like that, get one of these. Super easy. Set it on the side of the tank. Set it on, I think it's W2, and you just have to fine tune the frequency and you can get quite a wave. When I was setting it up, it was like almost rocking out of the water. Out of the tank. This side is the drain. Drain height was a little off. It ends up being fine. All I did was I put a siphon here to silence it. A vent here to silence it. I just took a piece of a plastic straw, super glued it in place so that it wasn't getting that water sound where it was just sucking through a bunch of air through, and it's good. You can see that there. There is actually a canister filter running on this. I just have it there. I moved some of my biological media out of the sump. With the added water flow coming through, I felt like it was breaking down a little bit. I ran an ICP test and my aluminum level was a little high. I hadn't had that previously, so I think it was just breaking down because it was right in this end, so it's just getting the air bubbles and everything just pounding down onto it, which I don't think was great for it. So all that's in there now is some live rock. The media is in here, so it's going to get a nice gentler flow, no air bubbles, anything like that hitting it. The other thing is I just change out filter floss in this, kind of just for a polishing. There's no like mechanical filtration. I don't run socks. I don't run anything like that. So this is a nice polishing for the water. This is old. It's an Eheim Professional 2. My father had this set up on a system back when I was, I don't know, must have been like 20 years ago. At least 15, but honestly I think he purchased this like 20 years ago. And I had it sitting around. I'd run it on some different quarantine systems. I set it on this and it's working quite well. Again, spray bar is over there. So generally speaking, the way the flow is in this tank, it's set up kind of gyre-like. You have an MP40 down here on the Reef crest mode, blasting across the bottom. And up the top, you have the SOW20. That gyre is not actually on, so ignore that. And so it's generally pulsing like this. They are both on a pulse though, so you get some random. And then you have the spray bar from the canister filter and the return pump up there. So everything's been running smoothly. I did just annoy stuff. It's the end of the day. It tends to be closing up a little bit anyways. The other thing is all of these lights are just on Alexa timers. On, off, easy, no issues. I don't care about the ramp up and down. I haven't had any issues. Everything's fine. Most of the corals in here that you see that are a bit discolored are ones that I got that way. I have no idea what this is. I got it like this. I was tank breakdown. It was in there, pretty much lost all its color. It is just browned out, grayed out, whatever you want to call it. It's not dead. It's there, relatively low light, and we'll see what happens. So that's it. I will be releasing more videos. Goal is to get back into the swing of things for 2025. So if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments, and see you in the next one.